everybody, I got Winky, the big wah wah noisy kitty that wants to come over and play. And a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. So, happy, what is it, Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. So what I'm on here for is to show you the differences of inside the Fender type amplifiers, except for a few of their new ones. And some of the other amps, I don't have the Black Star opened up right now. I just closed it back up. But I'm going to explain a couple of things. And I'm going to show you this real quick by taking the camera and flipping it around. Hello. All right. So here is the insides of a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. And if you can see, I'm going to get my fancy pokey stick so I don't zap myself. But if you can see these are all standard type components. These are all PC board solderable bench level components. Every bit of it. And what I had to do to this amp, the three preamp tubes were blown out and the sockets were corroded really badly, and a couple of the controls up here were corroded pretty badly. So I got that all taken care of. Got her working as she goes. Cleaned up all these connections over here. So anyway, this thing's back in business. But the other amp I was going to show you is this Black Star that I was talking about the other day. And this thing, I can't show you the insides of it because I have closed it up to bring it back to the customer, which I'm not going to charge him for, even though I did some checkouts on it. But I will explain why I'm not going to. If you see a tube amp, which this is a vacuum tube amp, as you can see by the tubes. If you see a tube amp that has emulated output and reverb controls like that on the back, that is one that has some electronics that I'm going to explain in just a moment. So let me just back around and sit on down here. So what that is there's some electronics that I learned about in the aircraft world, which is they've been out for quite a long time. They're not new as far as within the last couple of years, but they're called surface mount electronics. And what it is they take some micro components that are literally what it sounds like. They're not microchip. Well, there is some microchips, but very small diodes, very, very small capacitors, things like that. They're put on a circuit board, a printed circuit board that is not bench level solderable. They're not put on with a soldering iron like you would see in a regular assembly line. They put the components on with a robot electronically, and then it's put into an autoclave, a little oven, and it's cooked. And the solder is cooked by the oven, so the whole thing cooks at a certain rate and it's on there. Well, because of the way that they do that, I got a little misattention over here. So because of the way that they do that, the components are not serviceable in a standard shop with standard tools like mine, with regular solder stations and things like that. Most of these shops that work on amplifiers that are like that, they have access to the boards themselves, and when there's a problem, there's 3 or 4 different boards inside the amp. You just replace the board. You just pull the whole board out and put a new board in it, and like you would in a computer, pull the motherboard out and put a new one in. Well, I was not aware that particular amplifier had that type of electronics in it. Some of the older Black Stars did not. They were more like the Fender, which are bench serviceable. So a couple of things that my shop is not set up to do. One of them is to, like I explained with the oscilloscope troubleshooting, like with the Mesa Boogie stuff. And the other one is dealing with microelectronics that I would need special equipment, and not just special equipment, but access to factory parts. And some of that stuff is proprietary, and some of it is very difficult to get even if it isn't proprietary. So because of that, myself and a lot of other shops are limited on certain things like that. A lot of times they'll tell you exactly what I told that customer. So you need to send that back to Blackstar, take it back where you bought it, and have them send it to the factory and have the factory fix it, because they have the motherboards to install in there. So anyway, so that's just a little blurb on what I do. My shop is focused more towards the vacuum tube style amplifiers that go back into the vintage years that are hand wired, or some of the PC board type stuff that have the components like I showed you in the Fender, which a lot of even the modern stuff, the high end modern stuff, is like that. It's the lower end mass manufactured, made in China type amps that are turning towards the microelectronics because it's cheaper and easier to manufacture. It's not as reliable as the stuff that Fender uses, or Marshall, or any of the others like that, or Mesa Boogie. It's not as reliable as that, but it is cheaper to make, and that's why they do it. So if it goes out, then you got to send it back to the manufacturer or one of their certified service centers and have them do it. So anyway, that's a little blurb on the differences between the standard PC board type components and the surface mount microelectronics. So that being said, one of the amps works. The orange amp works, and that one I had a tube problem and a couple other little doodads, little components that needed to be cleaned up and things like that. So I got the orange working, I got the Fender working, so we've made a little bit of progress. So we're getting there. I got to get on to Alan's steel guitar case repair, get that underway, and get Cindy Lou's guitar finished up so I can send that to her. And I've also got Jimmy's Fender down here that I got to finish. So I've got quite a few things to do. As I said before, I'm backed up, but I'm making progress. So I've got 2 of them out of the way anyway. So we're getting there. So from me and Winky and a Thursday, everybody say hello. And I'm going to go and make me a pizza and call it an evening. And I will continue this tomorrow and Saturday. And I'm talking to a couple of my customers. I may be making a morning trip to Oklahoma City Saturday to deliver this amp. So I'm going to try to get my schedule together, and I'll let them know if I'm going to do that. So I will talk to you folks later on in the week. Bye.